The Monster Hunter games are loved by many, myself included. With over 1,000 hours played on Monster Hunter World alone,
Pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
I can safely say I'm a huge fan of the series. In 2020, a Monster Hunter movie was released, and it was written and directed by Paul Anderson. You can tell because Mila Jovovich plays the main character. He's also the guy who made all those Resident Evil movies.
I've tried to please an audience that know nothing about the video games, while also trying to please the audience that know everything about the video games.
Paul's got a pretty good track record when it comes to first installments into a series. The first Resident Evil movie is pretty decent. The sequels, well, speak for themselves. He also directed Death Race, which is very campy and entertaining. I knew it had a sequel, but I had no idea there was 3 sequels. Oh my god. The budget for Monster Hunter was $60 million, and it only made $48 million in the box office. It really didn't do well. It didn't help that it included a racist joke that linked to the phrase, Chinese, Japanese, dirty knees, look at these.
What? Look at my knees. What kind of knees are these? Chinese.
The Chinese government didn't take very kind to this and pulled the movie. Lots of the Chinese population then begun boycotting the movie and review bombing Monster Hunter Worlds. Paul released an apology, but the movie just never recovered after that. So the movie starts out with a quote from Albert Einstein. It's pretty deep. Their ship is sailing through sand, and I love it. It pans to different handlers, kind of like the intro to Monster Hunter Worlds. Also love it. But the best part is Ron Perlman. He's obviously supposed to be the Admiral, and I love it. The eyebrows, the wig, the Ron.
What you looking at?
This is the kind of camp I want from a Monster Hunter movie. They're headed to this spooky tower, which is the main plot to this movie that will definitely be resolved at the end, but get intercepted by things go bad, and then this guy gets impaled and then dies. Oh, this is not the fun having and goofy environment that the Monster Hunter games usually have. Out of all the Monster Hunter games, no one dies on screen. Many stories are told about the deaths of hunters, but it's never really shown because the game likes to keep things light and fun. With that said, getting impaled is a common theme in this movie. One hunter gets knocked off the boat and the scene ends. We won't see Ron or any of those other characters except for the hunter for another hour, and reset all the fun we were having, and now we follow some rangers who are looking for another group that went missing. These scenes are really long. They try to develop the bond between these people, and most of the dialogue is pretty cringe.
She's a woman, but she still manages to make that sound like an insult.
A storm comes and swallows them up, and now they're in the Monster Hunter world. And that's the name of the game. They regroup and start singing a terrible song. None of these people are really going to make it to the end of the movie, so I don't know why we're doing this. The Diablos from earlier shows up, and Capcom's bias against blowguns is clear as day. Their weapons do absolutely nothing. This guy gets impaled and drops a grenade right in front of Diablos' face, and still nothing. They manage to get to some rocks which provide them some safety, but it's only safety from the Diablos, because soon after, my personal nightmare shows up. These spiders are Nersillas, and there's a lot of them. This is where the movie kind of detours away from the whole adventure thing and just goes straight into a horror movie. Something Paul's used to.
It sucks!
The Nersillas grab the entire group, and the group's either put into web sacks or just killed on the spot. Mila wakes up in the feeding ground for these things, and I can't even imagine the smell this place must have. She ends up finding Link, who's played by T.I. Apparently his son is a big fan of the Monster Hunter series, so that's why he's in this movie. Radical! But he's also kind of a weirdo. He lifts up his shirt and reveals that he's become a father to an even bigger family.
Oh my god, what the fuck is going on?
A spider grabs him, and then something just happens. I can't tell, and this is a complaint I have with the whole spider arc here. Like, it's dark. Really dark.
Advanced darkness.
It's hard to see any of the actual movement the spiders are doing, most likely to hide the CGI and make it look great, which it does. The monsters and armor in this movie are fantastic. I love it, but I just can't see what's going on here. Link gets grabbed, I can see his arms, then they just play some noise like bones breaking, and that's it. Mila escapes through a hole in a rock, which is cool because it reminds me of a better movie where they do the exact same thing. She stumbles around for 5 minutes and then meets up with our hunter from the beginning. They then spend the next 10 minutes struggling and fighting with each other until Mila saves the hunter from the spiders. Now they're best friends. She pulls out a Hershey bar that's been perfectly preserved in her pocket for the entire movie, so they bond over that. They devise a plan to capture Nursilla and use its poison to fight the Diablos from earlier. It's kind of a sketchy plan. If the spider had any kind of accuracy, it would have just killed her here. It can clearly reach her, and she's not moving at all, and except for some twists, but the spider insists on attacking the same place over and over again. The hunter comes down and with his great sword slices the Nursilla's head in half. We're finally hunting some monsters.
Monster Hunter, what are you doing that?
They bond some more and play with
Velcro.
This is what he taught me.
They show a lot of the flesh and gory side of putting the poison together, and I kind of like it. The Monster Hunter series' main focus is carving up monsters to obtain gear and items, and we're never really shown the actual details of it. I like that it's enough to show the process of making things without being too gross. We also get a cool dual blade scene that shows off elements on weapons. The movie kind of needed this at the beginning. This is kind of what people want from a Monster Hunter movie. Instead, we're getting it halfway through the movie and they're not even used until like the last 5 minutes. Still, cool scene, cringe dialogue.
You gotta tell me about that. Can't just do that to somebody.
They fight Diablos with the poison from the spider and the hunter manages to shoot it right into its eye. They fumble around a bit and end up piercing its head with a greatsword. It's honestly such a shame. This fight between Diablos, the main villain so far in this movie, is shorter than the fight between Mila and the hunter from earlier.
That ain't right, man. Come on, man. This ain't right. Boom.
They travel to an oasis and meet some of the wildlife. It's refreshing. It's our first look at some actual color in this movie because before this, it was either bright sands or dark caves. And finally, Ron's back. Unfortunately, this whole thing is just a repeat from earlier with the hunter. Everyone's super wary of Mila, so there's some back and forth before being accepted.
Sucks!
They head over to the tower for the final battle. Or is it? Rathalos shows up and kills most of the handlers that survived the first scene of the movie. It's kind of a waste. Mila gets knocked around and accidentally goes back to the human world. There's a bunch of military there just waiting for her to show up. They put her in a heli and she's safe and sound. Rathalos follows her through the portal and is now causing absolute chaos. I said previously that the Monster Hunter series is more on the silly and fun side, but I actually don't mind this part that much. It's just Rathalos getting some deserved screen time, showing off its destructive power. It's slightly jarring that arrows with a bomb attached to them is more effective than any of the weaponry from the real world, but okay. Hunter makes it through the portal and helps take Rathalos down. And that's how it ends. Wait, I'm missing something. Right, the main story of this movie was to take down the tower. I think everyone involved forgot that was the point of the story as well, because Gore Magala shows up out of nowhere and Mila says we need to take down the tower, and that's just where it ends, with no resolution. It's an entire movie based on just setting up the world and a sequel to follow. It's extremely frustrating.
You kidding me? That's sick! Wait. Wait, what's going on? What's going on? Wait, what? No. Are you kidding me? Is this how it ends? What? No. This is how it ends? Are you...
I wish I had more to talk about when it comes to the details of this movie, but most of it really is just traveling or talking. I'm not saying I need the whole movie to be action-packed, it just could use better pacing. Specifically, the intro military scene. It feels pointless because we spend time learning characters and the whole group dynamic, and then they all die either to Diablos or the spiders. Side note, I'm not super against a more horror side to the Monster Hunter series. Huge monsters have always been a staple of the horror genre. Jurassic Park, Godzilla, Cloverfield, Underwater, Your Mom, The Host, the list goes on. And you could probably make an entire movie just about Val Hazek. You also don't need to end a movie with it setting up a sequel, especially if it's going to be the most interesting part of the movie. They show off some guy from Kingdom Hearts and end this movie mid-battle. I want that, not this. Mila made a statement that she'd love to do another Monster Hunter movie, and that Paul had already wrote some of it, but that statement was also made in 2020. This movie had potential. The monsters looked and sounded amazing, the armor is top-notch, and the entire world, when we aren't just looking at sand, is beautiful. The Monster Hunter fandom seems to be handling it pretty well. They either spit on it or pretend it doesn't exist. Obviously, with the way I talk about it, I don't like this movie. It's soul-crushing because Hollywood's just gonna see these numbers and then deem the Monster Hunter series just not suitable for the general audience. Which may be true, maybe not. And if you are looking for a Monster Hunter movie that's good, check out Legends of the Guild on Netflix. Compared to the Monster Hunter movie, it makes the Legends of the Guilds look like a masterpiece. I appreciate you for watching, I really do. More video game movies to come, and thanks to my Patreon supporter, and I'll see you guys later.